Prologue. The boy sat in the shadows, chin resting on his folded hands as he stared at the rose placed on the table before him. It was a beautiful flower, each of the vibrant red petals in full bloom, despite being picked days before. That was the beauty of the world he had found himself in. It didn't follow the rules of the real world, and he admired it for that very reason. If anyone could see him, pale skin contrasted to the shadows of his favorite hideaway, they would be able to call him out on his evil, to see him for what he was. Thankfully, he was alone, left to focus on his own torments without any outside influence. With a sigh, he dropped his hands from their place beneath his chin and sat up straight, ocean blue eyes not moving off the flower. The goal before him seemed so simple, so easy to achieve, and yet he couldn't do it. He didn't want to admit the possibility that seemed the most obvious, that he was too weak to pull off what he wanted. But for all the effort he had put in without results, it stared him in the face. A flower was so small, so simple. It should be no problem at all to move it to the real world. And yet it remained, in the same place, night after night, as if it was mocking him. He curled his fingers into a fist and slammed it onto the table beside the rose. This was just step number 1. If he couldn't do this, he wouldn't be able to do anything. I refuse to give up, he thought, no matter what it takes. Chapter 1. Luna took a heavy drag of her cigarette, coughing when the acrid smoke tore at her lungs. She wasn't a smoker. In fact, she had never smoked before in her life, but it seemed there was a first time for everything. Fighting with her parents, or more specifically her father, however, were not new to her. It would be odd for just one day to pass without a fight. Sitting in the quiet solitude of the shadows at the edge of the park brought her peace, if only for a little while. Birds in the nearby trees whistled and tweeted, and for the slightest of moments, she imagined them to be singing only to her. The peace wouldn't last. There was no possible way it could. Eventually, she'd have to go home, and when she did, her father would most likely go for her throat. It couldn't be helped. Luna spluttered again on her mouthful of smoke, and abandoning the idea of becoming a regular smoker, she tossed the cigarette to the ground to crush it beneath her boot. When she looked up, she spotted a group of teenagers entering the park, and she held a sleeved hand over her mouth in the hope of both blocking her face as well as stifling the sound of her coughing. The last thing she wanted was to draw the attention of the head of the pack. But despite her hoping, he noticed. He always noticed. His excitement showed as he jogged away from his group, the last words spoken by the brunette beside him falling on deaf ears. "Hey there," he said, smiling as he plopped down against the tree trunk beside her. "Was someone smoking?" Luna clenched her hands in frustration. "Not that it's any of your business, but yeah, I was." Chance smirked, exaggerating the scar on his left cheek as he pulled a pack of cigarettes from his pocket. "Looks like we have something in common after all. Want one?" Luna scoffed and stood to her feet. "I'll pass, thanks," she said dryly as she began to cross the park. Chance tucked the pack away into his pocket and rushed to her side. "So what crawled up your ass today?" "Problems you wouldn't understand." "Is that right?" Luna nodded curtly. That was the most on her private life that she was willing to share with him. If she had her way, she wouldn't say anything at all. She would give anything to have him leave her alone, but history said he wouldn't. "Are you going to follow me again?" The cocky smile made another appearance. "I prefer to think of it as walking you home. It's too dangerous for a girl like you to walk around town alone." "Chivalry? Really?" Luna rolled her eyes. He was anything but a gentleman. His string of girlfriends at school was proof of that. "It doesn't hurt." "Please leave me alone." Chance yawned. "Nah, I don't think so." Luna gritted her teeth. Einstein's definition of insanity ran through her mind. There was no reason today would be any different from previous ones. Chance didn't seem to mind the fact that her skin was crawling with aggravation, or the silence that came with it. He strode beside her, stands tall and lithe as he pretended to be her guardian. Luna hated the feeling of intimacy the forced walks created between the two of them. They weren't even friends, but Chance's attitude could easily convince someone otherwise. Luna peered at him from the corner of her eye. "Can I ask you something?" Chance's golden eyebrows shot upward. "Yeah, sure." "Why do you make me walk with you?"
"Why do you always walk the same route if you hate this so much?" he countered.
"I should be able to walk wherever I want," she said as they closed in on her block.
"And you can," he said. "I'm merely watching out for you."
Luna didn't respond. 20 more steps and she would be free anyway. His dark clothes exaggerated her shadow all the way to her front door. She went inside without so much as a parting word.
"See you at school,"
he called a moment before the door slammed shut behind her.